Let me get you a little sheet here. We're going to walk through a little bit. Yesterday we talked about transformations. Today we're actually going to do a couple. They can be a little tricky. That's why you need this piece of paper, especially on the rotation side of things. I'll give you one of these. We'll go through this together. You probably need. It's best if you would have something straight to follow as well. I don't remember saying to sing, so unless you want to spend the time outside, refrain from that. Okay, take a look. We're actually going to start with the second one first. Guess I might have missed somebody.
I got one.
Bailey, Taylor, and Josh. Again, if you guys want to have a little conversation with yourself, please. I got no problem with it. None whatsoever. All right, first one we're going to talk about is this one right here, which is a translation. If you remember back, our translation thing basically means it's a slide. Okay, and the directions they give you are, they want you to move this shape FGY, 4 units right and 1 unit down. Now please don't do it until I kind of give you the gist here. In other words, you're going to take this whole shape, move it 4 units right, 1 unit down, and you need to do that point by point. Okay, so let's start with point F. Okay, you need to go with point F, 4 units to the right, and then 1 unit down, and then put a point there. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4 units to the right, 1 unit down. You put a little dot there, and you can mark that point F prime. Remember I talked about using that little prime number or whatever there because it tells you it's the same point, but it's not really the same point, it just corresponds. Then you would do the same thing with point G. 1, 2, 3, 4 units over, 1 unit down, that's point G. And obviously we're on some sort of a roll here. Point Y, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 unit down. Once you have all of your points, then feel free to take your ruler, your straight edge, and redraw that shape. Yours, I'm sure, won't look as good as mine because I am a trained professional. G prime, Y prime. And that's what, that would be the translation, the slide that goes over for down 1. It's really not that difficult. The book at times will tell you to give the coordinates of the new point. So you might have to say, okay, well, F prime is, what is this coordinates of this? -1, comma, 3. Point G prime is 0, 1. And Y is -1, 0. They may ask you to give the coordinates of the new points. Be prepared to do that. You are smart, generally speaking, with an exception on occasion. Got that? So the translation is probably the easiest of them to do. The reflection, ladies and gentlemen, gets a little more tricky. We're going to do that one next because, well, I don't have any reason not to do it next. I can get down to it. I'm not sure where I'm at here already. This gets a little more tricky here. You might want to focus. Even if you know what you think you know what you're doing, okay, you might want to just take a look up here. First of all, if we're reflecting this, they have to tell you what your reflection axis is, or what you're reflecting it on. And in this one, the reflection is Mr. X-axis. That means this, right here. This is the point at which you are going to get the mirror image of it. Now this is a little goofy because it falls in the middle of the thing. But the only thing you have to do is think of these two things. Think of opposites, and think of same distances. Okay. In other words, let's do point K first. Okay. Here is your line of reflection. If you look at point K, okay, point K is going to end up on the opposite end of the axis that it's being reflected, the same distance away from that axis on the opposite point. In other words, point K is 1, 2, 3, 4 units straight down from the axis here. That means it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 units straight up on the opposite side. It goes 4, it is 4 or is it 5? It's 4. It goes 4 this way, so K prime is going to be 4 units that way. Same thing with letter M. Letter M is 2 units away from that axis of reflection this way, so you have to go 2 units in the opposite direction and put a point there. That's M prime. Okay, when you connect those lines, I'm just going to connect it now just because. When you connect it, that is the reflection of this line right here. It was folded over that line. Okay. Point C is 1 unit up that way, so in order to find the new point, you have to go 1 unit down in the opposite direction. That's C prime. And the same thing with J. J is 1 unit up there, so you go 1 unit down. That's J prime right there. So now you have all 4 points. Make sure you connect them in the correct order. This gets, I don't think I can undo stuff, so. And it looks a little goofy, but that is the right, correct reflection on that x-axis. If y-axis was the reflecting point, then you do that and everything would be flipped over there the opposite way that way. Feel free to ooh and ah. Alright, now comes the hard one. We're going to do the rotation one. Any questions on this? Kendall?
When there's like this shape that has like dual edges or whatever.
Wait, are we on this problem?
No. I'm asking like something that's like that problem.
Alright,
What if it doesn't fit on a little graph?
then you extend your graph. Be smarter than the piece of paper you're working on. Feel free. Sometimes you have to adjust people. That's what happens when you get older. You don't get spoon-fed quite as much as when you were younger. Okay, this one here, children, this is where things get really, really sort of messy because it's hard for us to think of things being rotated about a point that's not on the shape we're actually talking about. Okay, and that's what this is here. We are rotating 90 degrees counterclockwise, in which case you'd have to know what counterclockwise is, opposite way the clock travels. So we're going 90 degrees this direction. Okay, and then you have to know about what point you are spinning that thing. And we are doing it about the origin. Okay, so the first thing I want you to do, okay, is take your piece of blank line paper. I want you to set it on top of your graph. Try not to move it once you get it there. I want you to draw the x and y axis and draw the shape over the top of it. Put it on top of that, draw the x and y axis line up the X and Y. It doesn't have to be perfect. As a matter of fact, you just sketch it. It's going to be fine because that's just part of what we're. Draw the X and Y axis. Could I do that? Maybe I can do that. Let's see. Shape here. Sure, let's go with that. Although I don't think this will, maybe it will, I don't know, I'll try.
Just copy it.
No, I'm gonna do the same thing, you're gonna see X and Y axis, and you got your shape here. Okay? Everybody got that? You still have it right over top of where you just did it there. You can put it back, that's fine. Okay, now here is, this just gives you the idea where the new shape is going to be. Take your pencil, put it right here on the origin so that it kind of digs in there. I mean, you could probably, I suppose you could put a hole through it, it wouldn't really matter if you want. Now, what you need to do from there, and this is because we're rotating it about the origin, that's why we did it at the origin. Hold your bottom, make sure the bottom piece of paper stays, and then take your top piece of paper and you are just going to turn it 90 degrees, which is 1/4 of a turn, this direction like this.
Whoa.
Mine moved off because that's the way it is. But there, I got it there. Okay, that children shows you where if you rotate about the axis, about the origin 90 degrees, that is where your new shape is going to line up. Okay? It started here, I spun it about the axis there. Mrs. Lash!
Working on new maps, is this the map you are currently using?
Was it the map that was in the thingamabobber? That's the one.
Alright, thank
I
you.
don't know what you're very welcome.
I'm gonna make a copy of it.
Okay. Now, what you could do if you did it as accurately as possible, you could take your pencil, as long as you got this here, push real hard right here to make an indentation, push real hard right there to make an indentation, push real hard there to make an indentation, and then you will have, you can remove your piece of paper. Mine doesn't quite work like yours. And you have what's left of the rotation. And it ends up on those lines as best you can.
Is that the only way? Like,
You know, that's the best way, otherwise, you kind of have to just look at it kind of and think about it in your, you can do it based on, like, this line, since it crosses the origin here, you know this point has to shift 1/4 of a turn, so it's gonna end up on that same line there. Same thing with, this line here, you know that it's rotating on that thing, so it swings 1/4 of a turn there. You know, it's really not an easy, it's just, that's probably the best way. I'm not so sure there's a, just using that there. Rotations are very difficult, okay? Especially, it's one thing if the rotating point is on the shape. See, if the rotating point was on the shape, let's say the rotation point was right here, about this point right here, then it's really easy because you know the whole thing swings all together. But when it's off of the thing, really the only way to do it is put a piece of paper and rotate it therefore it just gets to be a little too hot. This is very difficult to do, to think about. So, alright, right now I would like you to do number 3, because we already did one like that. Give me the translation of this shape. Move 1 unit right, 1 unit up. Translation of that shape, move 1 unit up, 1 unit right. It's not gonna move very far, children, mind you. What time people are going on the earthquake thing? What time do you have to
like
go?
in there. 11:55.
So don't you have to go get your food or something first, or
Yeah, so 11:50.
are you leaving at 12 or leaving at 12:30?
We need to be in the office at 12.
Got it.
Leave it at 12:15.
Right 1 unit. What should have happened on yours is this. At every point, it said 1 unit right, 1 unit up. It doesn't matter the order you do it. 1 right, 1 up, 1 right, 1 up, 1 right, 1 up, 1 right, 1 up. These are your 4 new points. And you just take your proverbial ruler, connect the dots. Mine doesn't look as good as the book. It's kind of messed up. So yours basically should look just as such, did it? Why didn't you put that one down the line there? Looks like most of you got it. How about, now they go on to ask you this question here, write the rule. If you were asked to write what happened on number 5 here, what is this? Rotation, reflection, translation, and what would be the rule in order to go from the, yours I guess won't be blue, but mine is. In order to go from, oh see they have C prime, B prime, H prime. In order to go from CHB to C prime, H, C prime, B prime, you do what, Nate?
Translation, 1 right.
Yeah, it's just a translation, and it is just 1 unit right. How about number 6? No, this is the black one's the one that started. So you can't tell, Sam, so you can't tell which one to start with. This one here, what is it? And how do we get it? Ashley, it's a,
Reflection.
now the question is, what is it being reflected around? That would be the tougher thing. Which way is it the mirror image of it, Sam? Puffin?
The y-axis.
No.
Wait, no.
Y-axis means this whole thing will flip over here.
Oh, the other y-axis.
There's only one.
The x-axis.
Not the x-axis, because then it would flip down here.
It is the y-axis. No,
Oh.
counterclockwise y-axis.
Zach Rice?
At 0-3.
0, 3 is right here.
3-0.
Okay. 3, 0, because actually it would be reflected around where x equals 3, because x is 3 all the way through here. That is where the reflection is, you know, because it's halfway this way, halfway that way, halfway this way, halfway that way. Halfway that way. That would be it here. All right. Skip to the next page. Backside. Go ahead and do problem number 9. What they want you to do is plot those 4 points. You're going to get a shape, and then you need to rotate it about the origin, which is where we rotated the last one, and you're probably going to have to put your piece of paper over it. This time it's clockwise, though, going the other direction. See what you come up with. I would love to see this one here.
Is negative over.
What happened? Did I miss 7 and 8?
Yeah.
Is it not even on there? Is it not on my paper though?
Yeah, it's not our other one.
Huh. Yeah, no, just do 9 and 10 there.
Is there a negative over?
Negative has nothing to do with the first one number is over. Second number is up. Doesn't mean about, like negative and positive has nothing to do with which direction up or down it goes. By the way, if you want another little trick that would actually make it probably very easy for you to do this rotation thing, if after you, or before you do this, if you take your paper that you're putting over top of your tracing paper, take your pencil and color it in, shade it in on one side and put that side up against this thing. You can draw the shape, and then when you rotate it, once you trace over that shape again, it'll actually leave an imprint of that shape there. In other words, you would take your piece of paper. Do we have a pencil here? You take your piece of paper and color in really, really dark, like this, really hard. Lay that up against your paper when you draw your axis, when you draw that shape. When you rotate it and go over top of it again, it'll leave a actual really light, faint, black line that you can see very easily where it should go. Just the part that you're putting over the graph. You don't have to do the whole paper. But it'll make it very easy for you to tell where the new point should be. It doesn't have to be super duper dark either. Your call if you want to do it.
Mr. Hahn? Why'd you give this to me?
What did I give you? Wow. Happy birthday.
Here's some tattoo.
Oh, that's good. Alright, for number 9, you should have enough time to do that here. Here's my, you should have got this little diamond shaped thing in that quadrant number 2. And you sketch it, when you flip, when you rotate it. I hope this works. Oh, look at that. That's pretty freaky. Wait, we just go this far, right?
It's clockwise.
Oh, it's clockwise.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I need to get rid of that.
Oh, I didn't count.
So when you do it, even though my lines got all messed up there, it's going to end up looking very much like this. You know, this shape's gonna go from here to here, here. So that's your shape there. Most people come around with that. I don't know what happened to my. How about the reflection there? You got that one? Reflections to me are a lot easier than rotations. -5, -2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, -2. What is it, -4, 1? 0, -1. And -2, -4. There is your shape. And you're reflecting it about the y equals x.
Huh?
What does that mean?
I don't know, like y equals.
A reflection across, I would say it's supposed to be the y-axis. Let's just call it the y-axis. Which means it would look like this. Here's your reflective point. Notice this point, if we're reflecting there, if it's on the line, it doesn't move at all. It's also its new point because it's opposite of right there on the line. Going 1, 2, 3, 4 in the opposite direction here. 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. We put a point there. This point is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 1, 2 this way. 1, 2 that way. So your reflection will look like that. What else we got down here? Oh. It does seem to be off the touchdown. So go ahead and finish the rest of that stuff on your proverbial own. If you need, you're gonna need for 11, 12, 13, and 14, you'll need a piece of graph paper, but you can use just a normal piece of homework
Should we
paper.
skip 7?
Wait a minute, you know what, I think I have some graph paper, hold on, don't.
Should we skip 7, 8, or 6?
Yeah, you can put 7, 8, I don't know what's on my paper. I'm sure you can easily. Coordinate planes. There's actually small ones on one side and big ones on the other. I need the big ones first, before you use the small ones.
You have to connect yours to the other one. Oh, good.
Oh, sorry.
See if we can't make that more clear.